No, you're not bat poop crazy. I use that analogy in the Instagram reel that I started off with to kind of introduce this, what I wanted to talk about today. And I didn't talk about it openly like this on social media very much because I guess I always felt that, like I said in the Instagram reel, that I needed to be more fixed, I needed to be more whole, I needed to be healthier myself, both physically and emotionally and spiritually and all that. And that is a load of crock. So I wanted to hop on and I want to get right to the foundation of what I want to talk about. The point I want to make here is to help other women see that at the age we're at, and this can be anyone, this can be for anyone, obviously, you take what you want and you leave the rest. Like they say, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But there's a part, I'm 56, so I am going through what I would say is probably 4 or 5 years of menopausal, like right in menopause, right in the deep of it. And along with that, a lot of physical ailments and different things that are attacking my body and really affecting my life and well-being of how I live it. And that could be a whole other video possibly, but I will touch on that a little bit because it's all part of this, right? And my thought was sitting in the last 5 years roughly also of being quite ill with probably long haul COVID symptoms, this menopausal stuff, just being spiritually sensitive to things which can alter and affect your life greatly too. We are body, spirit, and soul. We are three parts, and they are all intricately connected. So wouldn't it make sense that if our soul isn't healthy and in tune with our mind and our body, that things will start to break down? So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with not feeling well the last 5 years and not being able to talk. I am just getting a phone call right now, but I don't think that matters. I don't think it shows up on the screen. But just dealing with a lot of symptoms that, like I said, have kept me down. It's hindered me from being able to work as much as as I want to, and at things that I desire to work at. It's hindered my spiritual journey. It has affected my relationships. It has caused me even to waver in my faith. Yes, I'm a Christian, but I waver in my faith often. And this dark season of, there's a term called dark night of the soul, and people can either attach that to their Christian walk or they can attach it to the journey that they're on as an unbeliever or whatever. It's just a season of really difficult stuff, trying stuff. And it can, after a long duration of time, bring you to a place of hopelessness, a place of isolating yourself, a place of not seeing in the perspective that we are to see, not seeing with a healthy viewpoint, not seeing with eyes. I always say, Lord, help me see with your eyes. Help me to see what you say. Help me to see her or him or this situation or the stuff, emotions that are threatening to rise up and steal my joy and my peace. Help me to see that the way you do. So, like I say, Christian or not, that happens to all of us. And many of us women are super sensitive. And it wasn't that long ago that I was led to watch a YouTube video. It was just kind of on there. And I usually only watch, I don't really watch any secular TV and that, but I was listening to something on YouTube, and this video next popped up, and it was called Highly Sensitive Person, HSP. And that's something right there where there's a lot of brain fog going on in my mind where I had to think about HSP, Highly Sensitive Person. There's things where I have literally almost ran a red light when I had stopped at the light and knew it was red, and then proceeded within seconds to almost go into that red light and cross the highway. And that's crazy. It sounds crazy, but again, we all do it. And that's probably where the term came in that we're not crazy. We're not crazy, but this stuff is happening to our minds. And a lot of it is from our menopausal situation that we're walking through. A lot of it can be from our soul. Like when I talk about soul, I'm talking about soul wounds that have been in there from a young child, soul wounds that we've never healed from. They've never rooted up. We've never become aware of them, but we wonder all our lives why we are acting the way we do, why this behavior, why this offense, why do I feel this way when I should have joy? All these different things, right? So the soul is the part that we need to have healed. I always say the heart is definitely the heart position, posture, where your heart is, where it's holding bitterness, it's holding anger, it's holding hurt, it's holding judgment, it's holding all these impure things. What do you think is going to, there's a hot flash now. What do you think is going to flow out of our mouths? It says in the Word of God, whatever's in our hearts, and this goes for all of us, whatever's in our hearts is going to flow out of our mouths, because we're going to think it with the wrong perspective. We're going to think it from that woundedness of anger, bitterness, whatever it is, and that's how it's going to come out. And then we're going to go, oh, why did I say that? Why did I react like that? Oh my gosh, am I demonized? Am I evil? Am I a bad person? No, but we are those three parts, body, soul, and mind. I pray that this is actually recording, so just let me double check, guys. It is. And that's something too, where I would be so almost not ashamed, but like, oh my gosh, am I going crazy? Is there something wrong with me? What must people think? That doesn't really bother me anymore, because I'm aware. I'm aware of soul wounds that are still there. I'm aware of the physical ailments that I'm having, and trying to figure out each day, not fixing it on my own, because I often can't do that. And often the doctors can't do that either, if we want to be honest. But you've got soul wounds, you've got heart issues with impure thoughts and darkness in the heart and hurt in the heart. And then your mind, the mind is crucial, because what we hear in our ear often goes directly into our mind, right? Because we have to think a thought about it. We have to think about it negatively, or we have to think about it positively, or whatever that looks like. Then whatever we filter through our mind thought or that situation is going to be what lands into our heart. And it's going to sit there often for decades, because it was never dealt with. And we are often going to point the finger at other people and say, well, they upset me, or they were rude, or they judged me, or they. The blame game has got to stop, because if you look at it in a clear, like see the way we're supposed to see, and a mature perspective, if we blame somebody else, we're just holding on to all the stuff ourselves, in our souls, in our hearts, and in our minds, which is why we have to renew our minds daily. We have to change the thoughts that we've had. I have had just recently a couple thoughts that have come into my mind that I went, wow, I have been thinking this way for probably 35, actually one I pinpointed was like, for 37 years I've been thinking this one thought one way. When we're not open to even saying, like, we can't always figure it out. I've probably got stuff within me that I'm not aware of. I don't understand it. I don't know where it comes from or why. I pray and ask God to reveal it to me, but there's still stuff that we don't know that's in there. And all we have to do is be a little bit open and say, what's in there? Help me see this. Help me see the way you see me. Help me to understand why this has been afflicting me and affecting me for so long in such a negative, bad way. I'm trying to keep on track here. So yeah, one of the biggest things, what I was trying to figure out was, where's this brain fog coming from? Why am I forgetting things like this? Why did I have the name on the tip of my tongue 1 minute, and the next minute I literally don't have it and can't grasp or find it? And that can be scary. And what we can do is we can right away let fear set in, chalk it up to, oh, well, my family line is Alzheimer's, or dementia is something my mom has, or just, oh, I'm 56, I'm 65, it must be that. As soon as we have that thought up here, we have begun to build a story, begun to build a story around that fear, around that toxic thought, around that thing that is not even true. So being aware that taking every thought you have that you know isn't a good thought or isn't a fruitful thought or isn't a, not every thought is perfect and beautiful and pure, but taking those thoughts, often the ones that are quite detrimental to our lives, our health, our journey, is crucial. And just being open to saying, well, I don't want to think this way anymore, so how can I get help not to think that way? Well, in that second, you can change that thought to anything, not anything else dark or negative, but change it to anything in that moment, and you're already breaking that cycle of patterns and strongholds in your brain. So I hear so often, well, there's been a history of cancer. There's been a Alzheimer's is in my family. My mom died a horrible death of dementia, Alzheimer's. That is something that if we think that, first of all, and we start to speak that out of our mouths, it then gets planted in our hearts. The heart has to be soft, open, pliable, and healable. Hoping that's a word. We have to be able to have a heart that is pliable, and it can be changed, and it can be altered, and it can be cleaned out, cleansed, to think and be different. Because from that heart, pure, healthy, clean heart, is going to flow life. It's going to flow goodness. It's going to flow out of it stuff that we can use, tools that we can use in our lives to deal with our anxieties, our stresses, those difficult people, even the convictions that the Lord gives me, which are good, because convictions are Him teaching us or growing us or coming alongside us and saying, hey, Sue, in a loving way. Even that has to be, if it's filtered through a heart that's dark and impure and thinking bad connotations all the time and negative thoughts, that's what we're going to continue thinking all the time. So even I'm kind of saying how this is all connected, body, soul, and mind. So I believe that my journey of this is the physical part now, the physical ailments, the sicknesses, and that's not even necessarily the emotional stuff like the depression and anxiety that I had most of my life. So everything that I did bit by bit by bit, year after year after year, was filtered through the eyes of the depression, the anxiety. But the physical stuff had to have come from somewhere, right? And yes, there's the whole side of the environment, the toxicity in the world, the crap in our food, the evil in the world and the evil in people that transfers onto us, which creates anxiety in us. It begins to build, and that anxiety and stress is always, always, always a root of fear. So if there's a fear of this, if there's a fear of being alone, if there's a fear of dying, if there's a fear of not being accepted and loved by others, if there is a fear of not being successful and adequate and all of that, that fear is going to be rooted in us, and out of that is going to come the anxieties and the fears, and they're going to build and they're going to build. But please try to remember that there, my hydro went out, that every fear that's deposited into our heart, our soul, through our mind, in our heart, in our soul, however that goes, whether it's whichever step is first, second, third, whatever is going in there is going to be how we live and walk our lives. And like I say, if we aren't aware of it, if we don't have that trustworthy, good intention person, or even the person doesn't have the good, purest intentions, but says something to us to make us aware of a truth we've been believing that's a lie, or something that the way we've been walking out our journey, they may come across very judgmental or critical. And that can still be a good thing, because if we don't take offense to it, and if we don't put our guard up and try to defend everything right away, which many do, right? We want to defend what we've thought for maybe 20, 30 years, and that thing we're defending might not even be true, and it might not be serving us well. So in saying all of that, it's like everything that comes into our life, everything we hear, everything we see, everything we touch, everything we experience, it's got to be filtered through something that is not from a wounded place. I heard a pastor once describe it that if we think we've heard, like, this is for Christians, if you think you've heard from God, you've heard something from God, and you then don't take it in the right perspective or the way he's saying it and filter it through a soul wound, then that is the way you're going to take that word from God. And that's for anything, right? If we hear something from a person that's we think is of a value, or it's pertinent to us, or it's helpful to us, if we filter it through, actually didn't know I was going to go this way with this, but filter it through soul wounds and old baggage and old stuff that we have. If it's still filtered through that, I guarantee it's not usually going to come out to be a good thing, a positive thing, or something that's useful. So we sit in that place of depravity, of pity party, of negativity. We sit there, and we are the only ones who have the opportunity, the choice, decision to change that. And it is a hard journey. There's something called like I was saying earlier, dark soul of the night, and that's a really deep topic. But overall, it can be a season in your life where you're walking out a very dark time, a very difficult time, a challenging time. There can be sickness. Many things can bring it on, like years of sickness and chronic illness, trauma in your life, situations where there's been a lot of death and fear and negativity that can cause us to go into something called a very dark, deep season. Now, for me, the spiritual journey is just that. It's my spiritual walk, where things are being melted off of me. My heart's being refined. My thoughts are being renewed from being over and over again, this repetitive thing. And you know what I'm talking about when you think something over and over again and you keep thinking it. All of that is what has to be burnt off of me, has to be, like they say, refined in the fires. A fire gets so hot, right, that it takes all the impurities out of gold and brings it up to the surface so we can see it. So we see all our shortfalls and our strongholds and our fears and our doubts and our critical judgments and our bad attitudes. We can see that all because it's come to the surface. If we don't have those hot refining fires, sometimes the Lord can work however he wants. Those refining fires bring it to the surface. We see it. We can either deal with it or not. But the point is, we can see it. It's at the surface, and we can deal with it however. But if I know that even in the midst of it now, I'm coming to the end of that season. And if I choose that different, renewed thought to think, almost get excited about what's coming at the other end of that, I can embrace it more so. And I can get excited about what it's going to hold for me. And I can get positive about the good things that are going to happen from it. But let's be real. Stuff has to be, and as a Christian, God can do whatever he wants. He can poof heal you like that. He can allow things to happen in our lives that takes us through a journey that we needed to see. Sue, this girl, needed to see a lot of the identity that she put in people and value that I put in people to get the love I needed that maybe I didn't always have. And bit by bit, he's burning that off of me. And I will tell you one thing. Have you ever taken a match and tried to snuff it out with your 2 fingers? It burns for like a couple seconds, right? Depending how long it's there, can burn for quite a while. But that burn is ouchy, right? But this is the fire personally I'm going through now, where it is hard, it is painful. It is stretching my normal, familiar patterns and ways of life and ways of thinking to a degree that, honestly, guys, there's been days I've just wanted to say, oh, can't do this anymore, not walking this walk. And then times where I've literally been crumpled up in bed, where I've been so physically sick, and that wasn't long ago, so physically sick where I could not eat. I could not get anything on my stomach. I was fevered. I was just feeling absolutely physically horrible. And I can guarantee, because we are mind, soul, and body connected, there is a connection to it. Now, the Lord's still walking me through it, where there's a good chance some of it's fear, some of it's toxic thinking, some of it's maybe some bitterness that I'm holding in my heart. That all makes us and can make us physically sick. So I believe, and I'm hoping so desperately that I'm at the end of this season, but I don't want to contradict myself. I also know that I have to go through this. I have to go through these moments, these times, this season, to enable me to get to another place. During COVID, there was this talk about, well, I want the normal back. What's the normal? Now there's a new normal and all of this. But the point is, normal has to change. Your normal this season might have to change to a new normal, and then that might have to all be shifted up and shook up and changed, because if we don't grow and move forward, even baby steps, then we don't move and grow forward and find out what is there waiting for us in life. What didn't I touch on? So I didn't really touch on the menopausal stuff. Whoa. So it's only been probably the last maybe 6, 7, 8 months, and since I was so physically ill, that I've had to, sometimes I can be stubborn, change my diet. There's a part we have and stuff, and then there's the part that God will do, or whatever we believe in. Change my diet drastically, because I would get so profusely sick that it was just horrible to see and to feel, and to not be able to cope and not be able to work, and that whole deal. So in this having to change my diet drastically, it was a discipline. Now, I maybe you've never seen one of my videos before or know my testimony. I came out of alcohol, drugs, depression, sinful living, all of that. I came out of that. And in that, I'm just losing my train of thought here. Lord help me. Coming out of that, so all those addictions, are pretty much gone. Like some of them gone, like bam, like that. But then we do grab onto other addictions. And I always knew, sugar and food and whatever was probably an addiction or a comfort for me, or whatever that looked like for me. And I'm not a big person. And that's why people would they perceived or assumed something. Well, no, she can't have stomach issues. She can't have diet issues. She can't have, this. She's thin, and that is where we assume wrong. And my diet afflicted me greatly, deeply. And the ability to change has been one of the hardest strongholds and addictions that I have had to break. And through just this last bout of sickness, I have had to conform and plead and ask for help to do this, both from good, close friends and from my God. And I've had to ask for help. And that's another thing, us ladies, I'm going to call you out on, is trying to do stuff, lean on our own understanding, do it in our own strength, because we've done it for 40, 50 years. That's hogwash. Get over yourself. We need help. We need help from a source that can help us and is bigger than us. And in order to humble ourselves, to get to that place for asking for help, sometimes pleading. It wasn't 2 weeks ago that I begged and almost pleaded a couple good friends of mine to just come meet me where I was at and just let me speak and be vulnerable and vomit up the stuff, not physically this time, but out the stuff I needed to share, and to get to a place of saying, can you come alongside me here? I need your help. And that was, again, an awareness to Sue that I have been doing well at reaching out and asking for help, humbling myself. But the bottom line is, when we do all that in our own strength, when we think we know better, when we try to concoct our own ideas and plans, there's somebody up there, all around, laughing, saying, well, try that in your own strength, and try that thing that you've tried for probably 17 times in the last 2 months, 3 months, and see if that works for you. We need to humble ourselves and get over ourselves and say, we need help. I need to go a different direction. Send me to someone, give me information, download wisdom. And even in your own homes and that, just switching things bit by bit. I remember something I wrote in one of my books where the OCD of clean laundry and having to have it put away and not having stuff laying around was like, ooh, OCD. And I remember flinging a pair of dirty socks and throwing them down the hall and literally having to leave them there for, I'll say, a couple days in order to break that cycle of, oh my gosh, there's dirty socks on the floor that I'm walking over every time I go down the hall. That will break something bit by bit. So I'm hoping this is all connecting together, but I know I'm speaking to people, I'm speaking to women who are understanding what I'm saying and are thinking that there's no hope, that there's nothing more for us, that it's not like they can, like there was a time where I couldn't even perceive. There wasn't even, like I always say, that if there's a sliver of light, a sliver of hope, that lifts our spirit, it lifts a bit of joy in us, and it propels us to go forward into something else. But if there's not even that, you can literally think and have the lie in your head saying, I'm stuck. I'm going to be here forever. I'm going to be here till I die. I'm going to be in this place of these crazy behaviors I do and this sickness and this hurt and this pain that I'm in. And it is emotional, physical, and mental pain is just that. It's painful. But in order to come out of it, we have to check ourselves, check our minds, check our hearts, and check our souls to see where we are at in our walk, in our healing journey. And that has to happen sometimes, like I say, bit by bit, sometimes for a season. This season for me has been exceptionally long, but I look back and I see where I came from 3 years ago and then 8 years ago, and now I'm in this season, and it gets me excited now. I literally can say it gets me excited to think of what God has in store for me, what it's going to look like. Because if we've prayed at all in our lives and asked for things or asked for the blessing or believed in his promises, he heard them. He heard them, and he is a promise keeper, and he will come through before anybody else in this world, any tangible person, human being. He will come through, and he's faithful, and that is a promise. So I can get excited most days to think about what's coming on the other side of all this. And the days that I can't, hey, it's okay to say I'm crumpling on the floor again. I'm in emotional turmoil. I'm feeling these old emotions of fear and doubt coming up again. That's okay to feel those, because if we don't feel them and sometimes share about them, not to the degree that we're talking over and over and over again to a friend or two or six about the same thing over and over again, but getting it out, being real and saying, hey, I need help here. And I even think sometimes we pray in a very religious, weird, legalistic way where we're praying, but we're beating ourselves up and saying, well, oh, I got distracted there. So well, what will the Lord say? Or where did he go? Or he won't honor that because I was distracted. Or I started thinking about the to-do list, or started thinking about the broken pipes under the sink, or all those things. He doesn't. He's saying, come back, focus on me, look at me. If I honestly was not disciplined for the most part in my journey now to know that I know, my eyes need to be set on him. I need to be focused on what he's promised me. I need to be focused on everything he healed me from years ago, and everything that he's pulled me out of, that dark pit, that miry clay that he's pulled me out of where I was stuck. I know that he did that, and I can be grateful and excited to think that he's going to do more. He doesn't stop doing it. And just, I think now touch a bit on the menopausal thing. I've watched podcasts. I've talked to other women, to close friends who are dealing with the same type of thing, because we're all around that age. And it's like, what is going on? And then you try to figure out, well, is this because of the menopause? Is this because I'm perimenopausal? Is this because of my physical ailment of digestive issues, or whatever it looks like? Or is this an emotional thing where I emotionally get, my emotions take control and are a real hindrance to me and don't allow me to move forward? We have to be able to navigate through that. But again, we can't really do that ourselves except to be aware, to ask for help, to say, okay, if this is from the food I'm eating today, Sue, then I better stop eating this so my stomach doesn't do what it does, or I don't throw up. If this is an issue, Sue, where you're still struggling with identity or a fear, then we need that. And if it's something to do with an actual, you're in menopause, what can I do? What supplements can I take? Who can I reach out to? What do I pray about to get healing for that? Once we're aware of this stuff and it's surfaced to the top and we can see it, that is a head start in itself. Because if we don't know, and if we're not humble enough to ask to know, David said in the Word of God, he said, "Show me my heart, Lord, purify my heart, cleanse me." Because David was a bad lad sometimes, right? But he always went back to the Father to ask for help, to say, "Cleanse my heart, forgive me, Lord," and God always does. Too many people are beating themselves up, not talking about stuff, isolating sometimes, and staying in that miry clay where you're stuck. Miry clay is kind of that stick clay that it's not hard, but it's not soft, but it's keeping you stuck, right? And to get out of that, we need different tools than we've used for the last 20, 30, 40 years. We need something different. We need a renewed mind. We need a heart that's pure. We need a soul. When I touch my belly, I'm talking about soul issues, soul wounds that can keep us in bondage for much of our lives if we don't find healing in it. And I don't want to complicate this or make it difficult to understand. I want to be able to help other women understand what's happening to their bodies, to their minds. I want them to understand that everything that's in the heart, if it's not to be there, if it's not good and positive, and what are all the words in Scripture that say, focus on things that are good, that are pure, that are worthy of praise, that are all of those things. If your heart's not in that posture, then what's going to come out is going to come out. But the good news is that your heart can always be clean. Jesus came back to heal the brokenhearted, to bind up their wounds and set the captives free. I've been a captive for many years. I'm sure many of you out there have been captives of certain things, certain addictions, emotional drama, all of that. We're captives. What has to happen to a captive when they're in bondage, when they're locked up, when they're isolated? They have to be set free. The doors have to be opened up. The mind has to be freed from old toxic stinking thinking. And like a prisoner, once you're set free, it's got to be an amazing feeling for a prisoner who's been in jail for maybe 10, 20, 30 years. It's got to be an amazing feeling to be set free. And there's got to be I'm sure there's some trembling and fear just coming out of it and some walking it out, but the freedom is going to be astounding. So I hope I touched on what all I wanted to touch on. I keep laughing to myself thinking, no, you're not bat poop crazy. There are things that are happening to our bodies, to our minds, within our souls, and then everything else that's coming in at us from the world, we'll throw that in there, and you could think things are hopeless and not able to be restored and redeemed. I'm promising you they are. And on this day, I'm speaking this to myself for the most part. I am being redeemed. I'm being purified. The fire is freaking hot. Those matches, I don't want to feel the burn of those matches anymore. I don't want to feel the pain of loneliness anymore. I don't want to feel the feelings I have when I'm rejected by people I love the most. I don't want that, but I do want what's on the other side of it. And I do know that there's something on the other side. And I do know that if there is that sliver of hope, and if there is people around you who will fill you and feed you in a healthy way, if there's people, like-minded people around you, not even like-minded people, there's been strangers that have said something to me or taught me something in that moment that's been profound and has shook me to say, oops, I need to believe this. I need to remember this. And that was good. So I hope I made an impact on one. I always say if I helped one, impacted one, saved one, then that is my purpose. And please be vulnerable. Please be open enough to say there's some stuff going on within me that I know is not good. And you have to have a foundational basis to base that on. Like from your strong foundation, mine is God, it's Jesus Christ. From that foundation, everything else flows. Should I be thinking this? Should I be doing this? Should I be reacting this way? Should I be living in a place where I don't have joy? We are to have joy and peace abounding. Can you believe that? We are to have that. He created us to have a relationship with others and with him, to be joyful, to have peace, to be able to be redeemed and restored. That's all ours. It's a given. It's done. That's it. It's ours. But should we decide to grab hold of it and use it, utilize it, take it, believe it, wear it, and don't be stubborn and say, well, I don't believe that, that's not for me, or it's been too many years, or this is just too dark, or this addiction has been for so long because it's been in my family for 20, 40, 60, 80 years. I don't care. We can be renewed, we can be restored. And it all starts with looking at the mind stuff, what's going in there, in the heart, in the soul, like I say, and how it's being filtered. How it's being filtered from those places is crucial, and it has to be looked at, and it has to be prayed about, or whatever technique you use that you think is going to help. It's got to be a change, and it's got to be filtered to a purer thought, a cleaner thought, a healthier thought. And I know, even not, maybe I'm not saying this prophetically, but I'm saying this, that once I come out of this, and I know there's going to be physical healing in my body, because the other components of my life are going to have healed and going to have grown and are in just a different place. So I feel that's it for now. Ciao for now. Praying for you guys, and just asking you to be real with me and raw. If there's any comments, if there's any feedback, if there's anything, advice you can give me about gut issues, about emotional turmoil, about anything at all, family separation, give me a shout back, give me a comment, ask me a question, whatever you like. Ciao for now.